on to video 7. Let's see. Let me get back where we left off here. Okay, so here's where we left off. We've got, we're just starting to get things all located up. And things are still fluid a little bit, so we can make some adjustments to things. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take that the crystal and the capacitors here. I'm going to move them down just a little bit. So, I can just come up here with a box, and it looks like it wants me to include all of them. Let's try this. Okay, and then hit the M key, and I can move it. And I'm just going to snuggle it right up in here. I'm going to eventually move the microprocessor to be, closer to where I need it to be. But I think I can make that work. And I start looking for patterns in traces where things are at. I know this diode can go, that. We'll just throw it up here for the moment. Now the USB connector, that's also a kind of an interesting problem. Our 5 volts comes in off of this, and we really need it to go to a whole bunch of places. Now I don't know if that's really where it's going to stay, so I'm just kind of looking at what needs to go where. This is the CH340. This is where the signals come in for it. And I'm just going to put it. I'm just going to put it down here. And if I go back to the schematic, here's the CH340, and here's the micro USB connector. So the pin 1 has that diode 1, the Schottky diode, to get us the 5 volts to protect the voltage in the micro in your laptop from this thing. So let me move D1 over there, and C1 also comes over here, and then R1 and R2 also go with this. Let me just come back to here. So I need D1. There's D1. And, I don't know where I want to put it. Let me just I'm going to drop it up here. I'm going to leave a little bit of space from the edge of the board. Not too much. You can't run traces off the edge of the board. Or if you run a trace on the top and the bottom going across each other, you can't get another trace across that. So, since we're doing a 2-layer board, so I'm just trying to think of how I can lay things out that'll make sense. Let me move this up here out of the way. And that obviously connects to this guy. You can see the 4 wires there. So let me just set that up there. I'm just debating on what I want to handle next. Okay, we've got servo motors, drivers, and we've got one other connector that's just extra stuff. I believe, what else we got on here? Oh, here it is. J4. It just connects to pins 10 and 11, and then the 3rd pin is ground. So that should be an easy one also. Well, here's J4, and it connects to these 2 pins over here. So I kind of want to get it in that area. So let me just move it. I'm going to move it over here pretty close. Okay. As I said, I'm just trying to get these pins out of the way. These are the servos, the 6 and 7. They really only have one signal. The other ones, the middle one's 5 volts, the other one's ground. So, I can just put those just about anywhere. Let me just drop them in here for the moment. And let me see what else I got. I got all these other parts on the schematic, and let's see where they go. Oh, R1 and R2 went to the R1, R2, D2, D3, and R3. So R1, 2, 3, and 4, and D2 and 3 all kind of go together here. And they're all by that CH340, and this is the 2 pins on the microcontroller. So here's R1. You can see where it goes. Here's R2. There's R3. Let me just get it in this area. And R4. Put that down here too. And then we said, C1. I'm going to put it on the bottom side. It just goes to that one pin, and it doesn't, and the other side's ground. So I'm just going to set it there for the moment. And now I've got these other caps that are all over the place. Let's see, we got R5. What the heck is R5? There's R5. That's the reset. So anywhere the reset line goes to +5, and +5 goes in almost everywhere. So so that's easy enough. The other caps are like C5, C4, C2. C5 just goes between pin 20 and ground on the micro. Which one was that? C5. Okay, so I want C5, and I want that to move really close to there. I'll rotate it. Oh, you can see that when I get it close, there's a ground pin right next to it. So if I move this just in here, like that, you'll notice that the ground pin's there, pin 20's here. Neither 22 or 19 are used. So I don't even need to get a trace out of those. And so that'll be convenient. I mean, I can always take a trace out the backside and do a via to get out too. But, so I can mount that right there. That'll be fine. The caps, C4, C5. Now, when I put these servos in, I said C9 should be between power and ground by the servos. They're motors. They generate a lot of electrical noise. So I want that C9. Here it is. And I'll zoom out, zoom in. I want it to be near, there's 5 volt and ground. If I rotate this at one angle, it'll go right in here somewhere. And I'm going to move it down just a little bit low. Some of this stuff is still going to move, but I'm just trying to get closer. R5 is the reset line. And doing this enough, there's a spot here. I mean, it connects, the reset also goes to that J5 connector. And the other side's going to, see, there's the reset line. And then the ground's right there, and that goes around to that. So if I put, do I want to move this up a little bit? I'm going to move this whole block on down to the lower. And in doing that, so I'm just trying to make sure I do everything okay. Let me move this whole connector up a little bit. And I'm going to take this guy, and I'm going to just move him like about here. And then move this guy, pretty just snuggle him up to here. Now the micro's, getting close, so let me move him. But if I move him, I want to move that cap with it. So let me just swipe it like that and say move, M for move. And I'm just going to get I just don't want the courtyards to overlap because it'll give us a warning. So something like that. We could certainly try that. Okay, so now let's see, what else do we need? This Y1, I need to get 2 traces there, but those can come on the bottom side to vias, so this can be really, really close. Trace can go through there. So I'm just kind of making my plan here, so I can attach everything where I want them. So this could go a little bit closer. We'll go for broke here. It may take a little longer to get the traces all in. And then to get this stuff near the bottom of the board, I think we can do that. So let's see here how we're doing. If I take this connector and move it, let's see. I'm trying to figure out where the other side of the board is. Let me just bring this in like this. And then these guys, I'm going to bring them There's nothing keeping me from keeping this down here. And I don't really want to put them on top of each other. Now, if I wanted these connectors to be in exact alignment with each other, the way to do that is once I've selected it like this, I could hit the E key, and it brings up, that's just the footprint. I want the whole thing. Oh yeah, we got position. This is J6, position. It tells me exactly where it's at. If I put it on, the Y is at 4.2, which is kind of convenient. This number is really kind of odd, but I can change this number and it'll just move the part. So I could say in X I want to be at 6.25, and you can see it moved just a little bit. So on this one, that's the pad only. I want the whole thing. I could say 6.25. And the other one was right at even. So let me move this to 4.6 and see what that does. Okay, so these are now on really nice snaps, and I know vertically they're totally aligned. May not really make any difference in the final production, but at least now they're in line. They look like it, you know. So you can actually physically place a part where you want it. It does stick a smidge down below the rest of these parts. You know, I could certainly move the rest of them down. Let me just do that. Oh, in fact, let me do it this way. Let me select this guy, and I'm going to move it manually to really close to where I want it. I'm just lining up this pads across here is what I'm doing. And now I'm going to hit the E key to get this actual coordinate. And you can see the coordinates here. The Y, the vertical, is really close to 4.5. So let's just make that 4.5. And this one's really close to 6. So let's just leave it at 6. Okay. So now we know that these pins are also in alignment. It makes things look nice. We're still not over. Okay, this one is now crossing a little bit, and I'm just going to move it just a little bit to get down. There's nothing stopping me from moving all of these down just that teeny amount. So if I do this and say move, I can make them line up. Again, that's kind of a little bit of, it's a little bit pointless on some of this stuff. Let's see. You know, I might even want to take, what I'm looking at is this guy might be actually better flipped, because there's the +5 and there's the reset. So if I come over here, and I can come down here like this. Okay, that looks fine. Now, the XY coordinate of this part, what I'm interested in is what is the Y? And that is, the Y was 4.6. So I can come over here to this guy and set this to 4.6. And on the X, not as critical. I can just leave it where it's at. But now this edge is lined up with this edge. You know, so that'll work for us. Okay. I've got a little bit of an overlap with the micro, so I'm just trying to avoid the warning messages that we're going to get. So let me select those two, because I always want to keep that cap going with it. And I think I can just come over here a little bit like that. Okay. So those are looking good. Now what else we got? You know, so my board I'm shooting for just coming out to about here will be the board. Now let's see here. Let me draw that line. And the X position is 6.25. So we can go about at 7 would be a good place for a line. So if I put a trace, let me put my snap back onto a big number here. 1/10 of an inch. That'll let us, you can see where the 1/10 of the inches are. And this is at 6.4. Okay, let me do that. And we have to be layers, edge cuts. You know, that's going to be too close. So I want to go one more. I'm just going for a 1/10 inch center line. Okay. So I'm just going to draw it up farther than I need. Okay. So that's the dimension of the board right now for that way. And what is it? It is, this is a ruler, I think. Okay, that's 1.4 inches. So that's a good size. That's not very big. Now I got to get the rest of the stuff in here. Okay, so these guys. This obviously can all slide down. So let's just do that. Let's slide some things down and see what we can make work. And maybe we can get some of these other parts, because I got some space in here that I wouldn't mind using. And I've got all these parts here. And these two wires, this is RXD and TXD, have to go to these R1 and R2 in addition to some LEDs and stuff. Okay, I think we can do it. Let's put them all down here. That might work out okay. And we'll see if we can make it work. Now we've got a +5 we need down there. Let me go back to schematic. So we're working on this piece here. The RX and TX are right here. And so R1, R2, and R3, R4, and the 2 diodes. Now I could flip these orders if that becomes convenient. I don't think I'll need to. You know, maybe it would be easier. You know, a resistor and an LED in series, it doesn't matter which one's first. But if I put the anodes of the LEDs to +5, I can put them closer to the edge of the board, because the +5 is going to be on the edge of the board, because that's how I always route it. That's a personal preference, though. So if I take this part, put it up here, take this part, they are indeed the same size, and then take this part and do this. That's one of them. Set off the side. Move that one in. Move that one. Done. Save it. Flip back to layout. Now I have to import the changes. Update. Close. So now you see things, the rat's nest lines moved a little bit. So, okay, that's fine. So now let's, let me see. I need to get everything down here. The diodes now I want to move them clear down here. Oh, my snap is still goofy. Okay, let me fix my snap. We'll go back to 1 mil, just because. Okay. There's this one. Now, one of the things that would be kind of nice is if all the LEDs face the same way. So when we're putting it together, that would be convenient. And the other thing I want it to do is I want to be in a line. So I want these to be vertically aligned with that. Now I can just do it visually, and it's going to be really doggone close. Maybe I'll just do it that way. So I want it to be right there. And I'll put that one right up next to it. Okay. And then R3 and R4 go right next to that. Here's R4. Rotate it. You can see it goes to, Yeah, I know I'll go to the wrong side of it, but I'm going to leave the LED in that position because it's not that hard to get around it. Put one there. Here's our 3. And I want to rotate that twice. And I want to make it just about there. Okay. So there's R3, R4, D2, and D3. So those traces have to come in from there somewhere. And then there's R1 and R2 come off of pins 2 and 3 directly. And then on the other side of that, they go to that. So I need a space for R1 and R2. You know, they may just go better where they're at. Well, I mean, I'm going to take this piece and move it down, I guess. So let me, and then I'm going to move the connector down too. So if I take these two and move them, I do want to stay pretty close to the edge. I'm wasting space if I don't. And then I want to take, you know, there's 2 and 3. They come from here. Now we've got 2 signals coming from pins up here. That's actually 2 wires right there. That's 2 separate wires. So those have to come down, but they can come in and snake right along the edge here. These 2 have to go here, so that's going to be a little bit of an issue. Because those are right there. I wonder if there's a better way of doing that one. And I've still got these guys to go. Okay. You know, this is looking really good. I like the looks of all of this. U3 is still kind of a little bit of a challenge. I can take this whole thing, though. Where did I exactly put this thing again? The Y position's 4.6. I want to move that whole thing down exactly 1/10 of an inch. So let me go to grid 1/10 of an inch, and I'm going to just swipe everything, and then I'm going to say move, and I'm going to go down . Let's see, how much lower can I go? That's too low. And why is my mouse not doing very nice on the grid? Interesting. Now, if I don't like it, I could do a Command Z and put it back. So why did we not move exactly 1/10 of an inch? Because that should have gone... That's looking weird. So I should have moved just exactly that. And let me just do this here. Oh, where'd we end up? We're at 4.7 and 6.3. So we're still 1/10 of an inch position. Okay. So this is still, you know, I could almost squeeze another 1/10 of an inch off this. If I just move this guy over a little. Okay, so we've hit about 20 minutes here, so should probably call this video good. Let me zoom out. We've got a few more parts to put in. Let me drag those closer. Let me go grid. Let me just move those in close. Move that in closer. And then when I zoom to max size, it gets a little better. So I think we could probably get this thing to a 1.4 by 1.4. That's my goal. We'll see if we can get there. Okay. So we'll stop here and we'll start again in video 8.